As part of Ferrari Fridays, William Ross from the Exotic Car Marketplace will be discussing all things Ferrari and interviewing people that live and breathe the Ferrari brand. Topics range from road cars to racing, drivers to owners, as well as auctions, private sales, and trends in the collector market.
And Happy New Year, everyone. This is William here at the Ferrari Marketplace podcast. Welcome into a new year. I'd like to give a shout out to our supporters and sponsors. Did I say that right? Supporters? Yes. Our supporters and sponsors. Got to give a big shout out to the Motoring Podcast Network. Check out motoringpodcast.net to take a look at all the podcasts that we have that are available. There's a nice variety and a selection of different automotive-related podcasts you can check out on 2 wheels and 4 wheels. So check that out. Take a look. Also, obviously, the FerrariMarketplace.com, but then also we have the ExoticCarMarketplace.com. The name says it all, where to find it. So go check those out, and also check out Grand Touring Motorsports. They also got some great e-zines that Eric has spent a lot of time cultivating and put together and redoing. So definitely check that out because there's a lot of cool stuff to check out from the past few years put together. Eric has done. Did that make sense? But yeah, so take a look at that. Check those things out. We'll put the links up and everything in the description. So when you check it out, you can just click on those and take a look. I definitely recommend checking them all out. Lots of cool stuff to go see, listen to, watch, hear, the basics. So anyways, onward and upward. So for 2025, let's try and make this a little more regular and get more podcasts out there. I know I keep saying this in all my previous podcasts that, I got to do this more. I got to do more of this. I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not home a lot. I travel. I got all these other things going outside of the automotive stuff. For those of you who may not know, I also do a lot of charity work. I help run I help run one organization that helps support pediatric burn survivors. So if you want to check it out, it's acbcohio.org. But then I also volunteer at a couple animal shelters trying to help them out, walk dogs and whatnot like that. So I'm kind of spread out there. But you know what? I enjoy it. I love it. And hey, this is how I want to live my life. So I'm going to try and do everything I can, but I'm going to try and do what I can to get more podcast episodes out there this year for 2025 because there are a lot of cool things we can discuss and talk about. I don't say so much discuss, but I guess I could opine on and tell you my thoughts and opinions on, right? But you always can reach out to me at William@theFerrariMarketplace.com if you got any questions, want a discussion to talk about. Hey, maybe you want to come on the show. More than happy to have some guests on here. We have a lot of fun with it. So, anyways, onward and upward. Today's episode, the first one of 2025, we're gonna I guess say revisit. We're gonna talk about the F80 again, but not just the F80. We're gonna talk about all these I guess you'd say hypercars or whatnot that are out there right now. And the reason I want to bring up the F80 though is because it's rather interesting what's going on in the market with the F80. The allocations. They haven't started building them yet. They may be getting in the process of starting, but they haven't started building it. But as all of you know, I'm sure many of you know, are aware, Ferrari's got a very selective process in regards to doling out allocations for build slots, so to get your hands on it. So you got to be a big old VIP customer to get yourself an allocation of these Halo cars, I guess you could call them, that they put out every 10 years roughly. So I will say this. I just watched this morning, and I check it out. It's really good. Mr. Bolian on VinWiki did a really good overview in regards to about how you get on these VIP lists and go about doing it, because it kind of changes from time to time in regards to what you need to do. And a lot of it used to be about, obviously you got to have a lot of Ferraris. They used to kind of almost base it on, hey, all right, do you have, I don't know what you'd want to call it, the Holy Five, 288, F40, F50, Enzo, LaFerrari. So, now obviously the F80 is coming into play. So, you used to have that. Now it's kind of more, as he's stating, and as I'm aware of, as the fact is, now it's kind of more biased towards the fact is, what are you doing option-wise? Are you dropping the $200,000 in just options on a car? So you're talking, you got your base price of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 put into the car, and then you're dropping another basically half the price of the car on options. But, it's, I don't know if they're looking for loyalty or whatnot, but then you also have the avenues if you run the Challenge Series. There's all these different avenues to go about doing it, but the one thing for sure, it will cost you a lot of money to be on that. So you have to have some very, very deep pockets, a trust fund, whatever. Got to be one of those, you hit the sperm lottery and, your parents, grandparents, whoever, left you a lot of money, what have you. So then you could be in that position. So, but anyways, hey, God bless you if you are, because, hey, it's a very privileged thing, and you're among the 1% of the 1%, what have you. So, but the reason I want to talk about and revisit this F80 and talk about it some more, so we're not going to discuss in regards to, hey, what it is. We already did that. But what we're going to talk about in regards to, it kind of is going to reflect kind of back to that, I would say the Holy Trinity. You had the LaFerrari, the 918, and the P1, the McLaren P1. Porsche 918, obviously in the Ferrari, LaFerrari. So then, it was kind of, they were all very similar in regards to powertrain, what have you. Obviously there's some variation to them and everything along those lines. So, but, again, there's I won't say significant, but there's enough difference between the two. And obviously it's going to depend on who you talk to. Oh, one prefers the other. But it almost seems to be the consensus that, just eking out on top is the P1. That seems to be the consensus. Now, I love what McLaren's doing, and they're getting a lot better at it. But, their quality issues and everything like that were kind of, as they've been labeled McCarrans, they can be a little testy, I guess you could say. So, but anyways, so they came out with those who are all very similar. Now what you have, as everyone's probably well aware of, the F80 has a 6-cylinder motor. So they're basically trying to copy what the 499 is, their WEC car. So they wanted to go that route, kind of, hey, they spend all this money on that technology, put it in there, hey, let's just put it in the road car. It's got a ton of horsepower. It's fast. It's going to handle. It's going to be a great car. But these cars, a Ferrari, should be, V12. Maybe even a twin-turbo V8. Okay, let's go back, to that 40, 288. Even going those route, but man, a V6, a 6-cylinder motor in this thing. So what's happening is, out of all the cars, they got, was it 799 they're going to build. And obviously you got to be that special person to get on, get the allocation. You get that, you got that package, whatever, got it to you in the mail. I'm sure you knew ahead of time that you're probably going to be receiving it, but you got that moment in regards to, hey, all right, it's official. I have an allocation. But now, just because you get sent it doesn't mean you have to take it. But here's the problem. If you turn it down, you don't take it, how does that affect you for the next one that comes out in 10 years? That they go, build, because they will, and by that point it's going to be all electric. So I mean, I don't know, my opinion, do you really want it? But anyways, so that's where that tricky fine line comes into. I mean, you really can't turn it down. But the problem is you have, a lot of people out there, and I have a couple clients that it's that position. They have allocations, and they're sitting on it because they're kind of like, they're not sure they want to get it because they actually want to drive the car and see what happens, I guess, in the market. Because here's the other thing that's going on with this car. Now, back in the day with your other previous cars, they were priced, I guess you want to say, all within reason. The LaFerrari was up there, was at 1.8, like it's under $2 million. Came out of the factory, but as soon as it hit the market, got out there, it basically doubled in value, whatnot. So, hey, I think, but, obviously Ferrari's putting these restrictions on, reselling it. So, hey, can't do it for 2 years. It's not, because again, it will hurt your status with Ferrari, and they will find out. No matter how you get that car, whatever you do, they will find out. All right. So if they're like Interpol, basically, they'll figure it out. The FBI, CIA, they'll get this stuff figured out and know what you're doing with your cars. Trust me, they watch that stuff like nobody's business. Their business, I guess you could say. So anyways, what they're running into is out of the 799 allocations that got sent out, there's still 20% of them that have not, I guess, I would say spoken for, haven't been, the option to do it has not been taken up. So what is that out of 799? Now, this is still rough. Obviously, it's going to change on a daily, weekly basis. So let me bust out my calculator here. So you got 799 times 20%. That's almost 160 cars, just a smidge under. So let's for argument's sake say it's 150 cars. Right now, they have 150 allocations that no one has taken that option up on because of the fact is they're not sure. But here's the other thing that's kind of, I guess you would say, maybe making people a little hesitant in regards to it. You know, somebody's going to play that long game. Oh, it'll go up in value, whatnot. You're going to be over $4 million, if not close to $5 million on that car. Sticker, buying that car. Now, Ferrari stock, I'm not saying this is what they're doing, not saying this is what is happening, but you know, they see what happens in the market. They've seen what happened in the previous thing with these cars, that people get them, whatnot. They have them for a year or two. And then all of a sudden, bam, they're doubling, tripling their money. You know, turn around and just selling it then. Because then they're out of that. Hey, they can do whatever they want. You're out of, you know, you're out of that penalty window, I guess you could say. So Ferrari's mindset is, well, we feel that out in the secondary market, these things are going to be $5 million. So let's just charge that retail-wise. I would love to know what their gross profit is on those cars. It's got to be obscene. I'm sure it's, you know, seven figures of some sort. But it's an interesting market move for them in regards to what they're charging for that car. Now, again, obviously they've sold quite a few of them. They've sold, you know, over 600 of them. Obviously, people have taken up and doing it. But, again, are those your hardcore people? Well, I don't know. And, again, as people understand, no, I have to buy it. It's part of this game. I got to play with Ferrari to be a VIP still, to get, you know, other allocations. Because, as we all know, as of now, you know, some years ago, hey, that was it. They just had these Halo cars that would come out. And that's it. Yeah, they had the other cars that you could drive, the roads, you know, road cars. They were awesome. They come out with their special editions, everything like that, and limited production quantities, everything like that. So getting your hands on those. I see like, you know, for recent arguments, say 812 TDF, 812 comp, those stuff. But now all of a sudden you have the Icona series. Now, obviously, some of those you cannot get them registered in the United States, but, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way to work things around, show and display, what have you. So, but, you know, you had your SP1, SP2, SP3. I'm sure there'll probably be an SP4 somewhere there. And just kind of as a side note, that's where they need to come and do a factory manual, because this has actually been coming up in a lot of discussions and stuff. If you listen out there on podcasts, YouTube, anything like that, people are really starting to push. Why are you not just building another factory manual? Look what the market's doing in regards to prices on cars that are factory manuals. Just look at, you know, 360s not so much, but look at F430s in regards to a factory manual compared to the F1 tranny and compared to a 6-speed swap car. I mean, just look at what the value-wise is there. But anyways, back to what we're talking about. So anyways, so you look at what, you know, they're doing with the F80. Now look at McLaren dropped the W1. Now people are kind of like, wow, it really doesn't look much different. You know, it's got the Senna look to it. You know, I mean, it's really not out there kind of like how the P1 was, but it's got a twin turbo V8 in it. Again, power, what have you. And it's all about perspective. I'm saying, I got V8, you know, and someone says, well, I got a little 6-cylinder in my car. Woohoo. You know, I don't care how much power you're putting out there. I mean, you know, Ford did well with the GT. You know, their last one, they had the EcoBoost. They did the 6-cylinder in it. And people, when it first, you know, was coming out, they announced it. People were like, oh, my God, they took a lot of shit for it. I will say that. But the car did well, and people still doubled their money in regards to doing it. Now, Ford tried to do the same thing in regards to, hey, you can't resell it, do all that stuff. They tried to do it, but they lost. We have our friend, well, I say friend, but Mr. John Cena, you know, kind of had his, and he's like, F you can't tell me what I can do with this car, because he got it, and basically I think it was within a couple months to turn around. So when you were supposed to, like, I know it was a year, 2 years. I can't remember what it was. You all know. So, but anyways, they went to court and everything like that, but he won. There's nothing they could do. It's like, look, I own this car. How can you dictate what I can do with this car if I own it? You know, I guess it'd be one thing if you leased it, what have you, like that kind of stuff, or hey, maybe you're financed it through Ford Credit. I don't know. But, you know, that's what always baffled me, is how a manufacturer can dictate after the fact you buy and own this car. I mean, and it has, you know, I get with brand and stuff like that and protecting your brand and that kind of stuff, but that's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different argument in regards to what you're doing it. I don't get it. I buy a car, I want to do it. It's like, hey, if I went out, you know, I have my F-150, but then I bought it, and then 3 weeks later, I turned around and sold it, and I sold what I paid for it. Maybe I made a couple bucks, or maybe I lose a couple dollars. Are they going to, Ford ain't going to come after you? I mean, so again, it's I don't know, it's a little bit odd. But anyways, back to our discussion. what's going on with F80s is interesting because there's actually, is it in Germany? I think it's Germany. There's a dealer who's advertising an allocation spot for sale, just the spot. This doesn't include the car. For a little over, it's at $6.3 million they're trying to sell the allocation for. Not the car. So you got the car's price on that as well. So you're going to be over $10 million for an F80. Ain't going to happen. So someone's reading from the Moon Stars, and again, hey, someone's just throwing something against the wall, seeing what sticks. But it's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. And this has been going around. So I'm sure this person has been getting tons of calls and whatnot. And they're like, I don't care what you think. Someone will end up paying it. And again, it's that thing. You can ask whatever you want, but what's someone willing to pay? And here's the thing. If you put something out there, depending on what it is, but you put something out there for sale, you're going to have an asking price. And you're always going to set it high and say, look, all right, I know I'm not going to get this, but I'm going to start here because I know someone's going to come in and offer me X. I'm going to come back at Y, and we'll settle at Z. Possibly that's what he's doing, but if he sticks to his guns, he ain't never going to get 6.3 over it. Someone's going to make it, especially when there's 20 over 150 allocations still sitting out there. 20% of them are still available. And again, that's a really tricky road to go when you take over an allocation spot like that, because then you got to get, I don't want to say shady. There's things to do where you have to set up you set up a joint LLC with the person that has the allocation, all that kind of stuff. And then after a year or two, when it's all good, they sell you the LLC, they buy it out for $1. It's just, there's a bunch of different ways to go about getting around it, but I've never been a fan of it. I don't like to partake in them. I'm not comfortable doing that. I just don't like it. Other people don't care. Well, and not so much dealers. Well, you're going to have some shady dealers do it, but other brokers out there, they don't give a shit. They want to make their money. So as soon as they get their check, they're out the door. They don't care. They'll never revisit that subject again. And that person tries to call and say it went sideways. Not my problem. Is, hey, your lawyer should have looked into it more, right? So anyways, it's just not something I like to delve into. So it's going to be curious to see here how much longer it takes. And what would be interesting is if there's still allocations that are sitting out there once the first deliveries start happening of the F80, which I'm going to assume should be mid this year, end of this year, come summer, late summer, fall maybe, I think it is. I could be wrong, might be a little sooner, but who knows? All of a sudden you're going to see it out there. Someone's going to have video on it. Hey, first delivery, I got my F80. It's a spectacular car. It's going to have unbelievable performance. It's going to drive phenomenally. I mean, it's got so much tech, everything, it's going to be a great car. But here's the thing is, again, it's that perception. When you have your true enthusiasts, they'll understand. That's like with the Ford GT. You know what? Hey, it's still got a crap load of horsepower. Same thing with the F80. It's got over 1,000 horsepower. So, I mean, look, the car is not going to be slow. It's going to be fun to drive. It's kind of a bigger car, but it's going to be a lot of fun to drive this car. It's going to be spectacular. So you can have everything. Well, I don't care. They're just going to sit out and hold it because, and then they're going to line it up with all their other Ferraris. They got a nice little, display there, row going on. They're going to start with their 288 and all the way down to their new F80. Again, these people got the money, so to them, it's no big deal. It's like, oh, $4 million. Oh, I make that in a week. That kind of stupid ass shit. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in regards to that car once it starts hitting the ground and gets delivered to customers. Normally with these, these Halo cars, they're sold out. The allocations get there. They have no issue. The manufacturers, they don't even bat an eye. We'll get it. So I'm curious what's going on possibly internally with Ferrari. I'm sure you're going to have the people, don't worry about it. Give us some more time. They'll all get taken care of. We'll get it situated. If for whatever reason, the person that got the allocation decides that they don't want it, which would be baffling if they did, because that really just screws up their status and how Ferrari's looking at them VIP-wise. But for whatever reason, someone says, no, there will be someone else that will step up and take it. It's a given. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it'll just happen. So, but it'll be interesting to see what comes about playing that, because obviously we know what the W1 is, but then, Porsche don't know what they're doing. They have that Mission X concept, but that's all electric. So, I mean, that's night and day. I mean, that's when you're talking two totally different cars, in my opinion. Yeah, I see they're in the place in this world. Yes, there's the thing for electric cars to an extent, but the technology, everything that's involved in these cars, and not just electric cars, but what's coming out, it's going to be interesting, in the used car market side of stuff, because you're not going to be able to fix them. I mean, it's just, and it's going to be cost prohibitive to want to do it because it's just going to be unbelievable. I mean, you can't work on them yourself. There's no way. I mean, I don't even think you can fucking change a light bulb in or something or a headlight bulb or anything like that. At least with these older cars from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, like, you can work on them to some extent, I guess you could say. It depends on your means and your wherewithal. But, there's a lot of things you can do yourself. So, hey, you can offset stuff and, hey, you get that pride, hey, I worked on it myself. But these newer stuff, you ain't touching that thing yourself. There's just no way. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be an interesting year, 2025, see what happens with these F80s. Because, again, and listen, McLaren's got W1. And, I mean, you have all these other Halo cars. Aston Martin's got, their Valkyrie, their Valhallas. And when you're starting to get in that $4 million price, I mean, you're in Bugatti price range and stuff like that coming out. I mean, so you're definitely up there with some very high-profile cars. I'm not saying that Ferrari's not high-profile, but, your pool of cars, I guess you could say choice-wise, it's pretty big in actuality. If you look at today, what's going on out in that marketplace in that area at that level. So, I mean, you're not limited to, hey, there's only a couple choices of cars right at that level. I mean, you have a lot of choices out there in regards to what you can spend your money on. I should say what you want to spend your millions of dollars on, because all those cars are multi-million-dollar cars. Now, I want to throw this out there because here's what stats-wise is not. But if you're buying a car for performance, and yeah, it's going to be after Oshawa, you're going to be over $200,000 on it. But the C8, Corvette C8 ZR1 should be this fall. I believe they're going to start deliveries on it. Performance, everything like that's going to be unbelievable. Now, that's going to be a car. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that in regards to, are they going to, try and stranglehold owners that you can't resell it, what have you? I don't know. I know, Chevy was trying to do that originally and trying to do, but again, how can you dictate to someone what you do with the car? Contracts or not, you sign everything. I don't know. It just seems baffling to me. But you have an unbelievable performance car for $200,000, around $200,000. Now, my guess, someone's going to get that. You're going to be looking at $500,000, $400,000 for those on a secondary market once they hit. Even if it takes a year that someone's got to sit on it. Because again, I'm trying to remember what the limited quantity or build number is on those. But look at the cost difference between the two. The C8's done phenomenal in regards to, I should say, Chevrolet's done a fabulous job in regards to leveling up in regards to, build materials, everything's on the interior of that car, because that was always kind of its Achilles heel. That everybody mocked it. Yeah, it had the horsepower. Yeah, I can handle it, but the interior one was just crap, because you're getting buttons, from a Chevy Cavalier or something like that in there, because obviously pinching pennies, accountants get involved. Well, just use that one that we use on the S10. Just put those switches in there. And you saw that. So, but they've done an extra job. But let me see what happens there. But anyways, to kind of wrap this things up, we'll see what happens with the F80 and their allocations and what happens down the road here. Because having that many out there, that's a significant number, especially on that special of a car, a limited production car. And the other thing is doing 799 of them. That's a lot. That is a lot of cars. When normally they're doing 299, 399, that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, they basically doubled in regards to what they want to do with these hail cars. And the amount of money they're making on them, it's just padding their thing. And if you ever looked at Ferrari stuff, because obviously it's a public company, they only sell X amount of cars a year. Man, they make a crap load of money from just branding, everything like that. But they make a nice chunk of change on all the cars as well. But I mean, they do very, very, very well. There's no doubt about that for building less than, 15,000 cars a year, I think it is. I haven't looked at production numbers, but it's not that many. It is not that many. Basically, it's what, Ford, GM, whatever builds in a day. They're building in a year. So, but anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. Appreciate you guys. Remember, got to try and get more of these out there. But, hey, also check out the YouTube channel, everything like that. Like I said, if you got any questions, why not, shoot me an email, william@theferrarimarketplace.com. But also remember, check out our sponsors and supporters. Check out motoringpodcast.net. Check out our other podcasts that we have available. Check out exoticcarmarketplace.com. Check out theferrarimarketplace.com. It all falls under there. But, hey, check everything out. But, guys, I appreciate you listening. Like I said, more to come here in the coming months. And like I said, I will get off my ass and try and get more episodes out on a more frequent basis. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
This episode has been brought to you by Grand Touring Motorsports as part of our Motoring Podcast Network. For more episodes like this, tune in each week for more exciting and educational content from organizations like the Exotic Car Marketplace, the Motoring Historian, Break Fix, and many others. If you'd like to support Grand Touring Motorsports and the Motoring Podcast Network, sign up for one of our many sponsorship tiers at www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports. Please note that the content, opinions, and materials presented and expressed in this episode are those of its creator, and this episode has been published with their consent. If you have any inquiries about this program, please contact the creators of this episode via email or social media as mentioned in the episode.